Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. My name is Ryan. Very excited today because we get to try a couple of the expressions of the brand new lineup from Heaven Hill. This is their grain to glass series. So this series has a wheated bourbon, and a rye. Today we're going to try the bourbon and the rye. I'm excited. Now before we dive into those, let me just give you just a quick announcement of sorts. We're going to be doing a completely free raffle. Totally free raffle. If you're a member of our community, you can enter, easy peasy. And this raffle is actually to get yourself a sample bottle of the Last Drop, right? If you don't know what the Last Drop is, this is a highly exclusive whiskey. It's an Irish single malt. It is owned by Sazerac, same people who own Buffalo Trace. It is 32-year-old single malt Irish whiskey. That's nuts. 32-year-old juice. The MSRP for that bottle is like $2,800. It gets scores like 95, 96 out of 100 on multiple websites and with many reviewers. So a very special bottle. It is being supplied by one of our community members, Justin Power, who is a hardcore collector. He's also a retailer of whiskey as well. So collects and sells. He acquires things for people who are hunting. Very good at that. And he's just providing this free of cost because he's like, I like it here and I like these people. So there you go. So what we'll do is we will pin a comment, a message from me in our Discord, and that will have instructions on how to enter your name in the ring to get yourself a bottle of the Last Drop. Sample bottle, not the full bottle, not the $2,800 bottle, but you can have a sample bottle of it. Pretty cool. Thanks, Justin. I appreciate you. So, link to the Discord is in the description if you want to get involved in that. All right, Heaven Hill, grain to glass. What is it? What's it about? I'm actually pretty pumped for this. I really like experimental stuff in general. I like when, especially legacy distillers, decide to color outside the lines a little bit, try new things. I respect that. So here's what they've been doing. The master distiller over there at Heaven Hill, talk about the legendary Connor O'Driscoll. So what they're doing is he's collaborating with a company in Indiana. They're called Beck's Hybrids, and they specialize in unique variants of seed for grain. So they explore all these varietals. They come up with a plan for a specific kind of grain they want to grow. They then take the seeds and then they have them raised by a farm that is literally right across the street from Heaven Hill. So it's a family farm. It's called Peterson Farms. They then give the seeds to them and say, grow it. So they then grow the grain right there and then send it on over to Heaven Hill to use for distillation purposes. So when we talk about grain to glass, what Heaven Hill is really trying to do is control every part of the process from selecting the grain, who's going to raise the grain, distilling it, aging it, and putting it in your glass. Everything from grain to glass, they have their hands on. It's all tailor-made. I like this on the blurb on the back of the bottle. It says, each release is a testament to our continued commitment to quality, sustainability, and craft, and honors the multi-generational partnerships that were built on handshakes, not contracts. That's pretty cool. So this was distilled in 2017, so we're probably gonna assume this is around 6-year-old juice at this point. And I gotta talk about mash bills and stuff like that. So let me go ahead and crack these open, get them poured. The sample of the bourbon was provided by Matt, and then was able to grab this bottle of the rye for my own shelf as well. Love that sound. All right, they're poured. I have not nosed or tasted either of these yet, but I'm gonna say this. I am hopeful that these expressions will be fairly grain forward. I feel like the whole grain to glass, grain's kind of a big part of it. And there are a lot of grain forward profiles out there. I think of some craft distilleries like Rock Filter. I think of even Hill Rock. I just got this double cask rye whiskey from Hill Rock, and I can't wait to showcase this one on the channel because it's very grain forward and extremely unique. So I'm hoping with Heaven Hill's grain to glass series here, we're gonna get a lot of grain forward notes. So we'll start with the bourbon here. This one is barely bourbon, right? Barely bourbon. It's only 52% corn, 35% rye, and then 13% malted barley. That's the mash bill on this guy. It comes in at 107 proof. You know what is the first thing that comes to mind on the nose of this glass for the bourbon? I know this is a strange combination, but I'm thinking a pile of fallen leaves in autumn and strawberries. Strawberries and autumn leaves. You know, I can hear the crunch under my feet. We're rapidly approaching autumn here in West Michigan, and autumns here are beautiful, absolutely beautiful. The orchards are vibrant. There's this dusty quality in the air around, and you know, you go drink ciders and have fresh donuts at the cideries and at the orchards and the farms, and do hay rides and pick out all of your gourds that you're going to put on your front porch until Halloween's over, all that stuff. I love fall. And this to me has a very autumn vibe on the nose. And man, a whole lot of like just sweet strawberries and cream on the nose as well. I don't know what I was expecting, but I wasn't expecting this, but I really like the nose. It's soft too. It's nothing big and brash. Well, let's go in on it. Cheers. The palate to me is very divide and conquer. Instead of having the strawberry and the autumn leaves kind of delivered seamlessly together in synergy with one another, they divide and conquer. Up front, I get a lot of those autumny vibes. I'm getting a lot of like white peppercorn, some spice, some of that peppery oak, and this earthy quality too. And then after all of that stuff, late into the mid palate and then into the finish, that's when that strawberry note just kind of comes by gently. It's not big, it's not bold, it's not overbearing. It's just very subtle strawberry sweetness at the end of the palate and into the finish, which then sort of revisits some of those spicy oak notes. One thing I forgot to mention is that both of these bottles, as well as the wheated, so of the three, we've got two here. The wheater we don't have here. But each of these bottles, the MSRP on them is $100 flat, basically. So, I like this. Do I like it $100? No, I don't think I $100 like it. I think I $50 like it, which is kind of a big price difference there. I understand why you're paying that premium for a product that has been sort of tailor-made from the seed all the way through growth, through distillation, through coopering, through bottling, and then into your glass. It's been meticulously controlled. So it's not that I don't understand the price point, but at the end of the day, you're a consumer and you want to taste something that tastes like it's worth what you spent on it. And I can't say that the bourbon for me tastes $100 good. I'd say it tastes $50 good for me personally in my palate. I think my beef with it is that I like those autumn notes and the strawberry notes, but I wish that they sort of blurred the lines together. I wish they walked hand in hand through the entire experience of the sip. But since they're sort of one and then the next, they're more sequential. I don't think that you get a really nice cohesive package the way that you would if you had those fruity notes throughout the whole thing, instead of just getting hit with the white peppercorn and the autumn leaves and the earthy notes, and then leaving them behind just to get a whiff of strawberry before you go into the the oaky finish. So for me, not a bad pour, and I respect the creativity and the innovation. But for me and my money, I don't think I'd be spending $100 on this. The best part about this, though, is easily the nose. I think the nose is the most enjoyable and memorable part of it. Let's move on to the rye, though. All right, we're jumping up in proof here to 123.2 proof on the rye. And here's the thing. It doesn't cost any more than the bourbon. So this is going to be a considerably higher proof. Same age. Mash bill on this is 63% rye, 24% corn, and 13% malted barley. Now that 63% rye in the mash, that shows that they really want to show off the rye, because that's the thing about this that's distinct, right? Is the special varietal of rye seed that they started with. So this is a much higher rye, percentage in the mash bill than their other rye whiskeys like Pikesville, or even like the Parker's Heritage rye, which I think is also barely legal. So this one jumping up to 63% rye in the mash is noteworthy for Heaven Hill. Even though it is a higher proof, it is not quite as sticky and viscous as the bourbon was, which is understandable because we have a smaller percentage of corn in here. Let's get in on the nose. I get that hallmark spearmint note right up front, but then I'm also getting this great, I think of like the rind of a lime. I juice limes pretty frequently. My wife likes margaritas, and I enjoy making margaritas. So it's a nice combination there. But I buy limes, get to cut them up, juice them, and all that business. And man, I'm getting this great hint of when you express the oils off of the rind of a lime peel, man, that's what I'm getting on the nose of this. It's also got this sugarcane sweetness to it. So I'm thinking of all those things combined. I think of mint, lime, sweet. This is like a mojito on the nose right here. And I appreciate that. I love a good mojito. All right, let's get in here and try it. Cheers. Well, that rye sure is bringing the spice. Your black peppercorns, that citrus note from the lime is definitely in there, but you're getting a ton of those minty notes. I think of juniper and pine needles. It's like everything you would like out of a traditional rye is definitely here, but just the simple addition of that lime citrus in here makes this pretty distinct too. You know, I went to college with a guy, his name was Noel, and he was an exceptional guitarist. And I'd sit down with him every now and then, and since he was so good, I'd ask him for advice for my own picking and playing. And I think some of the best advice he ever gave me is like, dude, the difference between an incredible riff and a pretty normal standard riff is just the addition of one small thing. And so he's like, for example, he played a really cool riff that he came up with. I was like, that's pretty hardcore. And he's like, yeah, I just started with this. And he played a much simpler version of it. And he was like, which is pretty low key. But then I just added this one extra thing to it, and it made it so much cooler. And he's like, if you want to get better at something, start with the basics and just start adding in one extra thing at a time. And then it's going to seriously elevate the quality of your work. And this rye whiskey is kind of like that in the same way that it starts with all those traditional rye notes, the things that you come to expect out of a rye, you know, the pine, the peppercorn, and the mint. And then it just adds in this extra layer of this sort of lime citrusy note, and it just takes it that much higher. It elevates it. And I really like it. Yeah, that's quite good. Again, the issue here that you have to sort of come to terms with is that you're looking at roughly 6-year-old whiskeys here, and you're going to be paying $100 for them, and that's only if you get them at MSRP. You know, a lot of stores are going to mark them up just an extra $10 to $110, so they can make a better cut off of them. So are you willing to pay that much money for roughly 6-year-old juice? And, you know, there's always this sort of rule of thumb people talk about. You only pay $10 for every year of age on a bourbon or on a whiskey in general. It's not so much a rule as much as it is sort of just a general guideline. But there's also other components to whiskey that are worth considering. And so with these grain to glass expressions, you're going to pay a little bit more of a premium because you are paying for the meticulous control to get something that is unique, something that is specifically tailor-made by the master distiller to come up with a product that is exactly what he wanted. And so value is a tricky thing, and I can't really tell what something is worth to you. You got to figure that out for yourself. For me, a lot of you guys know my palate and what I like, what I enjoy at this point. For me and my palate, I would say that it would be a lot easier for me to buy this bottle at $80 than $100, but I also don't regret having it. I think it's a great pour. I've really enjoyed it, and maybe one day I'll get another bottle for my shelf, but I wouldn't be rushing to the store that I have to have a secondary bottle of this just as a backup bottle for when I kill this one. Not just yet. That being said, I do really like the rye quite a bit more than the bourbon. So if I had to give these whiskeys a score per my scale, and again, we are omitting the wheated, keep that in mind, but for the bourbon and the rye, here's what I would say for my scores per my scale. I think the bourbon would come in at a 6.4 to a 6.5, somewhere in there. It's okay. Yeah, it's okay. I think the best part about it, again, is the nose. I think it is a great smelling whiskey. Those autumn leaves and the strawberry notes. I just wish that translated into a great, duet on the palate. But instead, it's just, here's the first one, here's the second note, and I didn't really like that as much as I was hoping I would. And at $100, that makes that discrepancy even worse to me. So it's not that it's bad. I think it's okay. And maybe buy, if you really wanted to experience it, I'd put it in the maybe buy category, or I would personally recommend that you just pay for a pour of it somewhere first before you go committing to buying it. The rye, I think I'm going to come in at about a 7.3 because I think it's really good. The only problem there really is the price point, because at the end of the day, for a lot of people who drink whiskey, it's all about just how does it taste. A lot of people, it's like, I don't really need to know a whole lot about the farm it came from and the varietal of seed and what family raised the grains. Like, I just want to drink the whiskey and enjoy it. And if that's you, you might not appreciate the premium you're going to pay on this product for those other things that are wrapped up inside of it. So for me personally, I think I do really like the pour. I like that citrus note that sort of elevates it and takes it to some new territories that I don't expect out of a traditional rye. So I think it's really good. But $100 is still a pretty tall ask. You think of some other things that are on that $100 shelf. $100 is not a small amount of money for a lot of folks. So that would be the one major hurdle for this bottle to overcome. But I still think it's really good. And those are my thoughts on Heaven Hill's Grain to Glass. Thanks so much for tuning into the video. I appreciate each and every one of you. Just a polite reminder, check the Discord. There's a link in the description of this video that'll take you to our Discord. Hop over there, introduce yourself, say hi to some folks. We've got a wonderful community over there, but we are giving away a sample-sized bottle of the Last Drop, which is a 32-year-old whiskey, and it's almost $3,000 a bottle. So you could have a chance of getting that for free. Get in there and check it out. Big shout out to Justin for supplying the whiskey for that giveaway. That's very generous of you, my friend. And lastly, I want to give a big shout out to our newest patron. We got Holden, who just joined us this week. Thanks so much, Holden, for your support. I appreciate you and all of my other patrons who helped fund the bottles that we get to pick up and review here on the channel. I could not do it without you guys and without your support. And I especially want to thank our grandmasters at the highest tier for their support. I'm talking to you, Trevor, Kells, David, Eric, Bradley, and Matt. Appreciate you, gentlemen, very, very much. And with that, we say cheers, my friends. May you live richly and get better with age. And I hope to catch you in the next one. Bye-bye.